Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good day and welcome to the show on this Sunday. Today is Sunday, August 28th, 2022. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here, and we got a lot to talk about. So I'm going to open up the charts right here and take a look. One of the things in the news right now is the United States is sending 2 warships through the Taiwan Strait. This is the first transit since the Pelosi trip. Now, you remember how upset the Chinese got when Pelosi visited Taiwan not long ago? Seems like something has changed a little bit because now they're sending 2 warships right through the strait. Of course, this is a trip through the strait to show the freedom of navigation. Right here, we're seeing freedoms of navigation. And so it says 2 United States warships have entered the Taiwan Strait in what is the first U.S. naval transit in the waterway since U.S.-China relations spiked this month over a visit to the island by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The guided missile cruisers, the USS Anthem and the USS Chancellorsville, were on Sunday making the voyage through waters where the high seas freedoms of navigation and overflight apply in accordance with international law, and the United States 7th Fleet in Japan said in a statement. It said that transit was ongoing. In other words, it's happening right now, and there had been no interference from foreign military forces so far. These ships are transiting through the corridor in the strait that is beyond the territorial sea of any coastal state. The ship's transit through the Taiwan Strait demonstrates the United States' commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific. So, this seems to my mind things have actually changed a little bit. Something is going on out there in the world right now. And I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's bad. I think something's going on right now that's smoothing things out a little bit somehow. Things are just not quite what they were. Tensions were heating up. I think things are cooling down a little bit, starting to. Maybe we're starting to go back to a little bit of a new normal again. I don't know. We've been through an awful lot. We've been through monkey viruses, and we've been through major viruses and viruses galore, and we've been through maybe it's a calm before the storm now. I just don't know, but I don't tend to think so. Maybe it's just the fact that we've basically had such a turbulent period, But maybe next year we're going to have to wait and see what happens next year. Maybe it is a calm before the storm. Maybe next year everything's just going to go wacky haywire. We do know that there's a number of things happening in the world right now that could lead us into a tremendous disaster. And one is the global drought. I'm going to call it global drought. I never seen anything like it. The Yangtze River in China is drying up. The Yellow River. Can you imagine? I see a documentary on the Yellow River years ago, how important it is to the Chinese and to their economy. It basically 400 million people in China rely upon the Yellow River, and it's drying up right now. It's exposing these things are being exposed in the Yellow River that haven't been exposed before because of its, just like in other places in the world, the same thing's been happening. Rivers in Europe have been drying up, and in the United States too. It's all over. It's the whole world. It's an enormous drought. If this continues, the impact it's going to have on food supplies is going to lead to a disaster. But it might not continue. Droughts are like that. Sometimes they can end unexpectedly, just like they began. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens with this drought. But if it continues and if it grows worse next summer, we're in for a world of pain. If it grows worse. And this is a fact. If this worldwide drought grows worse next year, we're in for a world of pain. Everybody is going to be in for a world of pain. And what I mean by that is I don't care who you are or what country you're in, you're going to be impacted very negatively by it if it continues for another year more into next year. Going to have to wait and watch on that. And it's going to cause pain next year, even if it ends now. Even if this drought were to end now, because of the food production and how far off the mark we are on how much food we've produced this year worldwide, is going to show up next year. And so we're in for some pain there, regardless how we cut it. If we get off easy, food prices maybe will just go up by, I don't know, maybe 40% next year. If we get off real easy, if the crisis starts to end now and we start to get these areas start to get rain that have been impacted by these droughts. But if it grows worse, so I'm keeping my eye on that on here. But anyway, I'm also keeping my eye on things like these ships that are going through the Taiwan Strait right now. And I'm noticing it's not seemed to be making such a big thing as it was when Pelosi went to visit. But maybe that's just me. Not such a big news story. Now in the markets, if you guys remember, last week, I forget which show it was, but I know it was not on Friday. It was like maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. I could look it up. But I said, hey, you guys, maybe it was a bit earlier in the week. Anyway, I said, hey, you guys watch out for the markets on Friday and Monday. Well, Monday hasn't hit yet. But we all know what happened on Friday. Will it carry over into Monday? Well, we're looking at pre-market data here that's coming in. And we see that the Dow right now is down when you take the implied change over the last 2 days. I guess that's Friday included. It's 1108. Anyway, we're down over 1,000 points on Friday, and I guess it's in the red right now, and it hasn't opened yet. The same with the S&P 500. It's showing it being in the red right now, and it hasn't opened yet. But we're going to have to wait and see how much it falls when it... One thing I can tell you guys is, without a doubt, that these markets are going to remain negative. And I've been telling you this for months. These markets are going to remain negative until the Fed gets over this whole thing that they got, where they're going to fight inflation, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do that. We're going to have quantitative tightening where we remove $95 billion a month from the general economy of liquidity. In other words, it's going to be draining the blood out of a corpse. I mean, basically the system died in 2008, and it's been on life support. And now the doctor says the best thing you can do for this patient is give him a blood transfusion. And the Fed's saying, no, we're going to drain all the blood out of his body until his heart stops. I mean, what are they thinking anyway? The patient's going to go into cardiac arrest. The system is going to go into cardiac arrest if they continue with this nonsense that they're doing. Of course they're going to have to turn around at a certain point and change direction. They can't go through with this to the completion of it. If they go through with this to the completion of it, the whole system will freeze and stop. And then if they don't do something about that, the system would disintegrate. The whole entire world system would disintegrate. The whole entire economy of the entire world would disintegrate and stop. And then nothing would get done. The power would stop. The power grids would all stop. The telecommunications would all stop. The people would all fight over whatever's left. And in the end, all the nuclear power plants would melt down. And in the end, everybody would just basically be exterminated in the whole world. I mean, ultimately, that's where it would go in the end result if nothing was done to save the system. Of course they're not going to do that. Come on. Of course they're going to save the system. In fact, when the least little bit of real trouble starts to come from what they're doing right now, they're going to be on their knees begging for mercy and dump money into the system like you've never seen them dump. But the bigger they let this go and the further they let this fall, the whole system fall, the more we go into a recession/depression, the more money it's going to take to pull us out. Can we say hyperinflation? ultimately, that's where we're going. So we're going through this little period right now. It's like a phase, a little period right now where everything's starting to slow down, and we're heading toward recession fears and all this, but it's actually heading toward a depression. You know, we're already in a recession, and we're heading toward a depression. And you know, at a certain point, they're going to have to turn this boat around. It's just absolutely have to turn it around, the ship around. It's going. The further they go down this river, the more it's going to cost them to turn it around and go in the opposite direction. So right now, they could probably turn it around for less than $5 trillion. Turn everything around. And if they wait a little bit further downstream, it's going to cost them $10 trillion. And if they wait a little bit further yet downstream, it's going to cost them $20 trillion to turn it around. But they're going to have to turn it around, so it's going to cost them more and more the more further they go with this idea of fighting inflation. And I think they know that, and they want the big ticket item. They want the big brass ring, which is to print tons and have a big enough crisis that they cause where they can print tons and tons of money and make all of their friends rich all over again. It's just a game they keep playing over and over and over again with you guys. You guys are paying for it all. And that's making you poorer and poorer and poorer. And in the end, you won't even have a place to go to the toilet. They have an old saying for that. You won't have a pot to, you know. But that's how poor they're going to make you. In the end. If you're willing to accept that. You will have nothing and be happy. The part about you will have nothing, that's a true statement. But be happy? No, that ain't a true statement. Nobody can be happy that way. Anyway. So we're looking at them Dow Jones on the Friday, down 1,008 points. And here it comes on Monday, and it can't be positive. I mean, okay, yeah, we might go up a little bit. Could bounce a little bit, but I mean, still, it's a negative market overall. And it's going to remain negative until the Fed decides to turn around and do something else. What were we looking at here? I was looking at something. Oh, yeah. I just was interested in this. The fact that the Voyager space probe that they sent way out there 45 years ago. It says the space probe Voyager 1 is communicating with us. And they're picking it up with the Allen Telescope Array in California. It was a satellite that was sent to space 45 years ago. They say it's incredible to think that there is something so far away from us, so far in deep spaces, communicating with us. Yeah, well, you know, they said here, a long time ago, way back in 1990, and this is probably some of you guys listening to my show aren't even that old, all the way back in 1990, it says that was already shut down. They shut the thing down back in 1990 to conserve power. It says the space probe will run out of fuel. Its cameras were already shut down in 1990 to conserve power. The computer memory and data rate for other instruments to collect data about interstellar space. Its last pictures were taken on February 14th, 1990 at a distance of 4 billion miles. Okay, so what's going on now? How come all of a sudden this thing is reactivating itself? What they're saying about it is, and this is NASA's own words, Voyager 1 has been acting weird. As if it has a mind of its own and everything. Well, we're talking about computer technology from 45 years ago. Which was basically more nuts and bolts technology. It was more 45 years ago. What did we have for computers? Did you guys even have a computer? No, we only had computers within the places like NASA had computers, but we didn't have computers 45 years ago or whatever. You know, I didn't have a computer back then. I know it's strange for people to think of a world with no computers or very few computers, but the computers that were out there were old, very old technology. So this Voyager 1 would have very, very old, antiquated technology on it. And that technology is basically, it uses a lot of power to run it. If you remember your older computers, they used to take a lot of power for very little computing power. They took a lot of electricity for very little computing power. The older computers, in other words, they were power hogs. And they didn't give you much, just bang for the buck as far as how much computing power. I mean, and so they sucked their batteries dry in no time. And this thing has been out there for 45 years, and all of a sudden they say it's been acting weird. Yeah, right, guys. It's probably, I would say, some sort of interference. Well, this is just me speculating, but I would say that it's acting weird because somebody's got their hands on it out there. It's acting weird because some sort of technician's got a hold of it and he's playing with it and he started it up again or whatever. It's acting weird because something's going on like that. Because it's way the hell out there and gosh knows what's out there and got a hold of it. Anyway, something like that's going on. Anyway, we can only speculate. But it sent us back some beautiful pictures. This says 9 pictures here. Let's just take a look at some of these. I think this is Jupiter. Gosh knows what's in that picture. That's Jupiter, and that's the eye on Jupiter. And there's a couple moons floating around. Jupiter again. This is a space launch. What else have we got here? Some other pictures, I guess, from Voyager. Saturn. What is this? This is a moon. The first view of Jupiter's moon, I guess, from Voyager. Voyager 1. Great little craft, wasn't it? I think that's what it looked like. Voyager 1 space probe. There it is. And it's still going out there. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the very next issue. And remember, you can subscribe, and it really helps my channel if you subscribe to my Patreon. And it only costs $1 a month. So for $12, you can get the whole year. You can hardly get a sandwich for that. Well, you can get a sandwich for that, but that's about it. Nowadays, sandwich and a drink, pretty much. You get a whole year of my channel. And what I talk about on there is I do podcasts where I just talk and randomly ramble on about whatever it is. And I can talk a little bit more freely over there about certain things. And also, I talk over there about the strange anomalies, like things like this right here, Voyager going off in there, and maybe some hands are on the thing. In other words, some technician has got Voyager. It might not be human hands. It might be hands with only 3 fingers or something, for all we know. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.